And Senator Tim Kaine right now. Of course, he was Hillary Clinton's running mate last year, now a member of the Senate Foreign Relations and Armed Services Committee. Senator Kaine, thank you for joining us this morning. You've heard the administration's rationale for firing James Comey. Do you buy it?
No, George, I don't. This is a firing that is an attempt to obstruct the investigation into ties between Russia and the Trump campaign, and I'll tell you why I strongly believe that. There's a pattern. Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates went to the White House and said General Flynn was compromised by and lying about Russia, and then she was fired. When Flynn's ties with Russia were finally made available to the public, he got fired. Jeff Sessions was caught misleading the Senate Judiciary Committee about his ties with Russia. He had to recuse himself. And now the FBI director, in the middle of an investigation into the Trump ties with Russia, gets fired in a most unusual manner. There's a pattern here. There's more to come, and we need a special prosecutor.
Senator Kaine, it sounds like you just accused the president of obstructing justice.
The president's letter is very telling, George, because it's the president that made this firing decision, not anybody else. And in the letter, he says, look, I have to let you go. But he inserts this thing like a bad poker player whose facial expression tells you what kind of hand they have. Thank you so much for telling me 3 times I'm not the subject of an investigation into Russia. That is a tell. That shows that we have a deeply insecure president who understands that the noose is tightening because of this Russia investigation. And that's why I believe he has let Jim Comey go.
Is he obstructing justice?
I think that there is an effort to stop this investigation in its tracks that the president is engaged in along with other members of his team, and that's what explains why all these unusual personnel actions are happening. The only thing that unifies them is that they're all about the ties between Russia and the Trump team.
You cited the president's letter. He says he was told on 3 separate occasions that he is not under investigation. To your knowledge, has Mr. Comey said that to the Senate?
No, I have no knowledge of that, whether that is in fact true or not. Of course, Mr. Comey would be the one who could verify that, but it was clear in his testimony before the Senate in the last 2 weeks that there is an active and ongoing investigation into ties between the Trump campaign, transition, and administration with Russia, and that investigation has been going on since last summer.
The New York Times is reporting that Attorney General Sessions was charged with coming up with reasons to fire Comey. Was it appropriate for him to be involved?
It wasn't appropriate. He had to recuse himself from matters with respect to the Russia investigation. And he was forced to do that again because he was caught misleading the Senate Judiciary Committee about his own ties with Russia during the campaign. The fact that he ends up being involved in this decision to fire goes against that recusal. But again, let's not fool ourselves. This was a decision made by the president. Others might have been asked to come up with reasons, but this wasn't Jeff Sessions' decision. It wasn't Rod Rosenstein's decision. This is Donald Trump's decision.
But Senator Kaine, the Justice Department memorandum does echo many of the criticism that you and other Democrats have made of James Comey. Just last week, you said Comey's decision to publicly reopen the Clinton investigation will go down as probably the lowest moment in the history of the FBI. So is there some justification for removing him?
What I said was next to the wiretapping of MLK, that was the lowest moment, but I think this was the second lowest moment. Look, I have been critical of Jim Comey, but that's why the FBI director gets a 10-year term. I didn't say he should be fired. The 10-year term is to insulate an FBI director from making people mad, from political pressure from Congress or from the president. So yeah, I've been critical, but he has a 10-year term so he can do his job free from political interference. And the president has interfered as part of a pattern because he's nervous about this Russian investigation.
Finally, Senator, will you and other Democrats try to block a replacement for James Comey until a special prosecutor is named?
Well, look, the key thing is, as a member of the Senate who will be voting on any replacement, I can guarantee you this: anybody nominated to be in this position is going to get the most searching review by the United States Senate probably that any nominee has ever gotten. And that's appropriate because we want to make sure that this person will follow this investigation wherever it leads. It's premature to talk about how we might handle it. Our goal would not be to block anybody, but to ensure that the FBI director is not going to be afraid of a president who's trying to squash an investigation.
Senator Kaine, thanks for your time this morning.